I'm doing some filler content. I hope you enjoy filler. Whoop, we're gonna turn off the sound. So I am trying to get better about posting my YouTube content, and I find that that's the hardest content. It's the content that I'm happiest making, but it's the hardest content for me to do, especially now, the way the world has been because of being a nurse. We all know it. I'm not talking about it anymore. But I'm trying to, as we're hopefully coming out of it. I ran up the stairs. Why do I run up the stairs? Hopefully, as we're coming out of this, I will be able to have more of a schedule. I'd like to ideally post once a week a video. I don't know if I can commit to a specific day simply because my work schedule changes all the time, and I also take call. So, like the other day I worked until 3:30 in the morning. I was shot the next day. So it's hard for me to stick to a specific schedule, but if I can get something out every week in these early stages while I'm learning how to be a YouTuber and you guys are learning to love me or hate me, and I want to at least commit to weekly, and I'm trying really hard to do that. So to do that, I need to do some filler content because I predominantly do wrap-ups, a few vlogs, like a vlog once a month, and some unboxings, but I don't always have unboxings to do, and they're starting to come more frequently now because some of the holdups from everything that's been going on are, easing. But I don't just want to be about buying stuff. I kind of want to have a full spectrum, and it's hard for me to find the time to edit vlogs, but I really like vlogging, so I need to figure that out. So while I'm figuring that out, we have filler. So I poured myself a glass of wine. It's already covered in lipstick because I've already had some. I've got my Savage shirt on, and I figured we would do a book tag. And I don't really I don't really care about book tags. I don't really care about filler content to begin with. But I actually liked this tag. I was watching, trying to find the questions. I was watching Allie over at Hardback Hoarder, and I don't know if there's anybody who watches me that wouldn't be watching her. That seems weird. But I was watching her, and she was looking back on a tag that she had done, which was the I Never tag, and I kind of just liked the questions, so I thought I should do that. So it's 10 questions I'm going to go through. I may have to pause and stop. I only brought one book up that I think fulfills one of the questions. Some of my books are up here, some of my books are in my bedroom, some of my books are downstairs. I'm going to be out of breath for this, which is why I brought wine. Why wine? I don't know, but it just felt appropriate. It's my Friday and Saturday today, so I'm just trying to do all the things, basically, I think is the point. It's also my Sunday. It's my whole weekend today. So cheers. Let's get into this. The first question is, I never read that. Name a book that you've never read that everybody else has. A book that I've never read that everybody else has. I've never read Throne of Glass. And I recently bought the entire series. Hold. I will. Alright, this is gonna be my exercise. Running up and down the stairs. So I bought myself a Nurses Week present because, frankly, nobody did anything for me. That's okay. I'm just proud to be a nurse. But I bought myself, I can't hold this forever, the whole set of Throne of Glass in hardback. And, girl, I can't lift this. But I'm super excited. I know that it's a much loved series. I did end up liking ACOTAR. I did not like ACOTAR actually itself, but A Court of Mist and Fury. Mist and Fury? Yeah. A Court of Mist and Fury I loved. A Cart of Wings and Ruin I was alright with. But I loved it. Everything was better than ACOTAR, because actual ACOTAR sucked balls. Crescent City, amazing. So I'm hoping that I like this, because I feel like this is the OG, right? This is the original. This is why people stand Sarah J. Maas. So I'm gonna put this down. But yeah, that's a book that I've never read, and everybody else has. But I'm gonna change that this year. Number 2, I never read anything so awesome. Name my favorite book. My favorite book. I think my favorite book is hard to find right now. We have 2 contenders. Oh, stop moving, talking. We have 2 contenders for my favorite book. It is either Rebecca or it's Pride and Prejudice. I've read both of them multiple times. I've seen the movies of them multiple times. I absolutely love both of them. I think the themes that are explored in them are great, and I feel like everybody needs to read them. They're like really well written and like they're perfection, in my opinion. So we're gonna go with that. What's number 3? Number 3, I never thought I would get through it. Name a book that you didn't like but powered through it anyway. There's a few of them. I would say I don't DNF a lot of books, but I do DNF books. Like, I'm not one of those people that doesn't DNF a book. I would say actually ACOTAR, which I have somewhere, but it might be behind the chair. But we all know what ACOTAR looks like. I would say ACOTAR because I actually really loathed that book. I did not like that book. The other contender would be Shatter Me, or so the other. Oh, my books just fell. I just filmed my wrap-ups, so like I have stacks of books everywhere. So I have this, which I gave 1 star, which I actually finished. I only finished because it was an owl. This was my first ever Stephen King. I hated it. It was terrible. It makes me never want to read Stephen King. And Shatter Me was also fairly terrible, and if I wasn't reading it as a buddy read, I would never have finished it. And then I definitely would never have gone on to read the second one if it wasn't also a buddy read. So like, can we put these 2 together? Plus, I actually really hated ACOTAR. Like, I really disliked that book, and the only reason why I ever continued on with the series is because my book friends said, you have to read A Court of Mist and Fury and you will change your mind about the series. And I was like, fine. If you insist, I will do it. But yeah, no, I actually really hated that first book. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like with Books with Cindy, or whatever, Reads with Cindy, whatever her name is. I'm with her on ACOTAR. The rest of the series, I'm like, why you hate reading? 4. I will never finish that. Name a book or series that you don't plan on finishing. Well, can we bring this back up again? I have 0 desire to finish this. I'm giving myself to December 31st to decide to finish this series. I don't think it will happen because I even bailed out of the buddy read for the 3rd one. I was like, nah, I got other things I can read. I'm gonna give myself to the end of the year. If by the end of the year I haven't felt compelled, and I highly doubt I will, these are going away. I'll donate them. I'll send them to one of you. I don't care, but like, check out at the end of the year and see where I am with this. But I do not think that I am going to continue on with this terrible series. I'm sorry. I know so many of you love it, but I just think that I was too old when I read it, which was like April. So I'm not the audience. It wasn't for me. I don't like it. 5, I will never regret reading that. Name a book you read solely on a recommendation that you ended up really liking. I'm going to say, this is the one book I brought up here. The dog's coming out. The Name of the Wind. I haven't finished it. I'll be honest, I haven't finished it yet. But I am so in love with this book. Like, I don't typically savor my reads, especially if I really like a book. If I really like a book, I devour it like you just put cake in front of me. But this is another level of good, in my opinion, that I don't feel okay devouring it. This book, so freaking good. Yes, I will never regret reading this. And all the time I've spent on it, I will never regret it. 6, I would never do that. Name a relatable book character who made choices you don't agree with or did things you would never do. Oh yeah, I remember not liking this one when I was watching the video because I don't know. Can you not walk on all the book stuff? The dog is walking on all the things. A relatable book character that you wouldn't do what they do. I don't really know. I don't like this question. I feel like it's hard because there's lots of characters that are very relatable that I wouldn't necessarily be like that. And I don't know if I'm the kind of reader, you know, like there's some readers who like every time they're like, you dumb bitch. But like, oh, you know what? You know what I'll say? Because I just listened to this recently, and that's Alice in Wonderland. Alice is a dumb bitch. Like, I would not go like falling into stuff, drinking things, eating things, talking to weird people. Like, she just gets herself into all kinds of trouble, and like, she's just, I'm not about that life. No, Alice. I would not be like Alice. That's what I would say. I know it's a weird answer to that question, but that's my answer to that question. Number 7, I never wanted to admit it. Name a book that you were embarrassed to say you read or were embarrassed to carry around with you. I'm not typically embarrassed to carry anything with me. I think sometimes I'm a little bit wary of when I have like a graphic novel maybe with me, because I feel like sometimes people think that those are childish, but I'm not really like embarrassed to carry it. I think the only time I was ever embarrassed reading something or having a book out in public was when I read, and I know this is exactly what Allie said, and I know this is something that probably everybody said to this, and that is 50 Shades of Grey, because I remember I read it on my Kindle, and I was reading it on the train to and from work, and I remember getting to the contract, and I was sitting in a 2-seater, and I had this gentleman sitting right next to me, and he was very close, and I was reading this crazy submissive contract, and I felt awkward, because like you could see everything. I was like trying to do that like weird turn thing, but then like the window's there, I was sitting in the window seat, and like you know that they can see everything on the window, so I was really weirded out for that. That's probably the closest I was ever, that's probably the most embarrassed I've ever been reading, because I just didn't want some strange man to know that like I was reading it, or to think that I was getting like my jollies off of it. You know, I don't know, like it was just gross. 8, I never read anything so heartwarming. Name a book or a book series that really touched your heart. Touched my heart. I mean, I cry at everything, so I'm gonna give you a selection of things that have made me cry. Alright, so things I've read recently that have made me cry include Normal People, because I've had this relationship and it is simultaneously the most wonderful thing that could ever happen to a human being and also the most heartbreaking, and I love this book. Crescent City, because y'all watched my vlog of this and I cried like a little baby. That's all I'm saying. A Gentleman in Moscow. There are moments in this book that touch me so deeply. I'm just gonna keep standing Amor Towles. He is amazing, and if you haven't read either of his books, you are missing out. End of. Let's see, where are we? Are we on 9? Is that where we're at? I'm bad at this. Yeah, 9. I never laughed so hard. Name a book that made you laugh out loud. I mean, books don't usually make me laugh. I'm trying to think of something that may have made me laugh. Like, this makes me sound like I don't laugh. Like, I'm so serious, I don't laugh. I definitely do. I don't know. I probably laughed at stuff in like Six of Crows. Truthfully, I have no idea. I have no idea what book has made me laugh out loud. I don't tend to laugh out loud often. And I haven't read any memoirs. I'm sure if I had read memoirs, I would laugh. But I don't. So yeah, I don't have an answer for number 9. I would like to have an answer, but I don't have one. I can't think of any book that makes me laugh out loud. And I had the same thought when I was reading this, when I was watching Allie do hers. I couldn't think of it. The last question, and this one's really hard for me actually. Number 10, I never could have made it through my childhood without it. Name a favorite childhood book or book series. Now, I'm probably a little older than your average booktuber, so I don't really know what series I would have read when I was a child that has had any impact on me. Things I just vaguely remember from my childhood. I will list a bunch of books. Whatever that book is that has the story with the girl with the green ribbon, because I legitimately think about that like all the time. Like sometimes I'm just walking and I think about that book. I don't know if I couldn't have made it through childhood without it. I don't know. I probably could have lived my whole life without ever hearing that story, but for some reason it stuck with me, so now here it is. 2, Heidi, because my grandfather gave me a beautiful copy of that book before I think I made memories, and I believe they used to read it to me as a kid. 3, like all of the fairy tales. I have several treasuries of fairy tales that my dad has given me when I was younger. 4, Alice in Wonderland, again, because, I mean, who didn't have that story when they were kids? Tiki Tiki Tempo, because I just I've always liked saying Tiki Tiki Tempo. I think all the books that were in like the little golden storybook things, so I used to get those all the time, like Corduroy and Ping the Duck and all these things. All of those stories, like that's what I grew up on. And they're not like well-known stories. Some of them I maybe don't remember, but I love stories because I used to do that. I mean, I was a kid. My grandmother was a librarian, so I would get books from her all the time. Reading was a huge part of my life. I read like all the Laura Ingalls books, like all the Little House on the Prairie books. I read all those little golden book stories. I think there was like Spot the Dog and stuff. I would get those all the time. That was like the original book of the month for me. I would get those all the time as a kid. And then the Scholastic Book Fair, forget it. I came home with so many books. Like I read so much as a kid, it's so hard for me to remember what I even read. There's certain standout things, like I've already mentioned. And then there's so much more that I'm sure I've read at some point that I can't even remember anymore. But yeah, I've just always been reading. It's like when people ask me the question, like, what got you into reading, or what's the book that got you into reading? I'm like, I don't know what the book that got me into reading, because it's just always been there. We grew up like that. It's what you did. We didn't have cable television. We had, the 7 channels that we had, and you did things. It's why I watch a lot of PBS and why I've watched a lot of BBC shows, because they would be on PBS. It's why, I maybe don't watch as much television as maybe some of my peers do. It's just not, I can watch TV, it's just not as exciting to me. I do other things. I read books, occasionally I'll watch a movie. I like going to the movies. I like going to plays. I haven't done that in a long time. But yeah, that's my early memories of reading and books in childhood, and what got me here, I guess. Anyway, well, I hope that was actually a little bit fun for you guys. I don't really know. I don't know how I feel about filler content. I didn't run up and down the stairs nearly as much as I thought I would, which I'm happy about. Me and my asthma are very happy about that. Anyway, well, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If there's other book tags you'd like me to do, leave them below, or link whoever did the first one of this. I'm gonna see if I even have the name of the person who did this first. Oh, Lizzie Faye Loves Books, I think, is the first person who did this tag. And then I saw it from obviously Allie over at Hardback Order. So I don't know, if you have other book tags you want me to do, let me know, because I do need, or just suggestions for content, because I want to make sure that I keep making content, because I actually really like content. I like creating content. I like editing. The editing I think more than the filming. I think I would have more fun editing somebody else's vlogs, but or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm not an editor. I just really enjoy it. I'm rambling. I'm gonna finish my wine. I'm gonna deal with this dog who's right here, if you can't see him, sniffing and about to knock books over because he wants attention. And I'm gonna go finish a book and maybe even post a video this week and enjoy the sunshine, and cheers, everybody. I will see you in my next